From the book of Ezekiel. I just forgot where that fast. I believe chapter 38 to 42. Yeah, chapter 38 to 42. Bear with me as I try to get through this, y'all willing? The book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 1. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog. The prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Verse 3. And you shall say, Thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. Verse 4. And I shall turn you around, and I shall put hooks into your jaws, and shall lead you out with all your army. Horses and horsemen, clad perfectly, a great assembly with armor and shields, all of them handling swords. Ain't this something? Verse 5. Persia, Cush, and Put are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Verse 6. Gomer and all its bands, the house of Togarmah from the far north, and all its bands, many people with you. Verse 7, be ready, prepare yourself, you and all your assemblies that are assembled unto you, and you shall be a guard for them. Verse 8, after many days you shall be called up in the latter years. After many days you shall be called up in the latter years. You shall come into the land of those brought back from the sword and gathered from many people on the mountains of Israel, which had been a continual waste. But they were brought out of the peoples, and all of them shall dwell safely. Verse 9, and you shall go up coming like a storm, covering the land like a cloud, you and all your bands and many peoples with you. Verse 10, thus said the Master Yahuwah, and it shall be in that day that words arise in your heart, and you shall devise an evil plan. So this won't even be their own doing. This is the Most High pulling the strings, and they're leading them just to fulfill this prophecy, man. Let me keep reading. Verse 11, and you shall say, let me go up against a land of unwalled villages. Let me go to those at the rest who dwell safely, of all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Verse 12, to take plunder and take booty, to stretch out your hand against the waste places that are again inhabited, and against a people gathered from the peoples, acquiring livestock and goods, who dwell in the middle of the land. Verse 13, Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all their young lions shall say to you, have you come to take plunder? Have you gathered your army to take booty, to bear away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to take great plunder? Verse 14, therefore, son of man, prophesy, and you shall say to Gog, thus said the Master Yahuwah, in that day. So this is later, this is the future. In that day when my people Yisrael dwell safely, would you not know? Verse 15, and you shall come from your place out of far north, and you and many peoples with you, all of them riding on horses, a great assembly and mighty army. Verse 16, and you shall come up against my people, Yisrael, a cloud to cover the land in the latter days. It shall be in the latter days. It shall be. And I shall bring you against my land. So this would be the Most High bringing them. And I shall bring you against my land in order that the nations know me, in order that the nations know him. In order that the nations know me when I am set apart in you, O Gog, before their eyes. Verse 17, thus said the Master Yahuwah, are you the one I spoke of in former days by my servant, the prophets of Yisrael? Are you the one I spoke of in former days by my servant, the prophet of Yisrael, who prophesied for years in those days to bring you against them? So this is to fulfill the prophecy of what's being spoken. This is for us, the nations, to know that it's the Most High's doing. Verse 18, and this shall be on that day, on the day when Gog comes against the land of Yisrael, declares the Master Yahuwah, that my wrath shall come up in my face. My wrath shall come up in my face. Verse 19, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath I have spoken. Oh, that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Yisrael, so that the fish of the sea and the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the field and all the creeping creatures that creep on the earth, all men who are on the face of the earth, shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall fall to the ground. Come on, man. And I shall call for a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the Master Yahuwah, the sword of each one bearing against his brother. Verse 22, and I shall judge him with pestilence and blood and rain down, flooding, rain and hailstone, fire and sulfur on him and on his bands and on many peoples who are in him, or who are with him. And I shall exalt myself and set myself apart, and I shall be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. This same chapter, I believe, is spoken of, same prophecy is spoken of in the book of Revelations. Chapter 39, verse 1. And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog, and you shall say, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tabal. Verse 2, and shall turn you around and lead you on and bring you up from the uttermost parts of north and bring you against the mountains of Israel. And shall strike the bow out of your left hand and make the arrows fall from your right hand. Verse 4, on the mountains of Israel you shall fall, you and all your bands and peoples who are with you. To the birds of prey of every sort, and to the beasts of the field I shall give you for food. Verse 5, on the face of the field you shall fall, for I have spoken, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 6, and I shall send fire upon Magog and those who live undisturbed in the coastlands, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Verse 7, and I shall make my set apart name known in the midst of my people Yisrael, and not let my set apart name be profaned anymore. And the nations shall know that I am Yahuwah, the set apart one in Yisrael. Verse 8, see, it shall come and it shall be done, declares the Master Yahuwah. This is the day of which I have spoken. Verse 9, and those who inhabited the cities of Yisrael shall go out and set on fire and burn the weapons. Both the shields and the armor, the bows and the arrows and the clubs and the spears, and they shall make fires with them for 7 years. Verse 10, and take no wood from the field, nor cut down any from the forest. Ain't that something? For with the weapons they make fire, and they shall plunder those who plunder them, and loot those who looted them, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 11, and it shall be on that day that I give Gog a place for a burial site, there in Israel. The valley of those passing by east of the sea, and stopping those passing by, because there they shall bury Gog and all his crowd, and shall call it the valley of Hamon Gog. Verse 12, and the house of Israel shall bury them for 7 new moons, in order to cleanse the land. Verse 13, and all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be for a name to them on the day that I am esteemed, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 14, and they shall separate men who continually pass through the land, burying those who were passing through, those left on the surface of the ground, in order to cleanse it. In the end of the 7 new moons they shall search. Verse 15, and those passing through shall pass through the land, and when anyone sees a man's bones, he shall set up a sign beside it, till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hamon Gog. Verse 16, and also a city named Hamanah shall be there. So they shall cleanse the land. Verse 17, and you Son of man, thus said the Master Yahuwah, speak to every sort of bird, to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come, gather from all around my slaughterings, which I am slaughtering for you, a great slaughter on the mountains of Israel, and you shall eat the flesh and drink the blood. Verse 18, eat the flesh of the mighty, drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams and lambs, of goats and bulls, all of them fattening of Bashan. So this is what the animals would do. The birds and the beasts shall do to these fallen kings. Verse 19, and you shall eat the fat till they are filled, and drink the blood till you are drunk at my slaughtering, which I am slaughtering for you. Verse 20, and you shall be satisfied at my table with horses and riders, with mighty men, and with all my men of battle, declares the Master Yahuwah. Verse 21, and I shall set my esteem among the nations, and all the nations shall see my judgment, which I have executed, in my hand, which I have laid on them. Verse 22, and the house of Israel shall know that I am Yahuwah, their Elohim, from that day onward. Verse 23, and the nations shall know that the house of Israel went into exile for their crookedness, because they have trespassed against me, so that I hid my face from them, and I gave them into the hand of their adversaries, and they fell by their sword, and they fell by the sword. So it would be well known why the Most High left Israel and sent them into exile, into the hands of their adversaries. Verse 24, according to their uncleanliness and according to their transgressions, I have dealt with them and hidden my face from them. Verse 25, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, now I am going to bring back the captives of Jacob, and I shall have compassion on all the house of Israel, and shall be jealous for my set apart name. It's for his set apart name he's doing this. Verse 26, and they shall have borne their shame and all their trespass, and they committed against me, when they dwell safely in their own land, with none to make them afraid. Verse 27, when I have brought them back from the peoples, and to gather them out of the land of their enemies, and I shall be set apart in them before the eyes of many nations. Verse 28, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah, their Elohim, who sent them into exile among the nations, and then gathered them back to their own land, and left none of them behind. Verse 29, no longer do I hide my face from them, for I shall have poured out my spirit on the house of Israel, declares the Master Yahuwah. Chapter 40, verse 1. In the 25th year of our exile at Rosh Hashanah, on the 10th of the new moon, in the 14th year after the city was stricken, on that same day, the hand of Yahuwah came upon me, and he brought me there. Verse 2, in visions of Elohim, he brought me into the land of Yisrael, and sent me out on very high mountain upon it toward the south was as the structure of the city. So, verse 3, so he brought me there, and look, a man whose appearance was like the appearance of bronze, and line of flax, and measuring rod in his hand, and he stood in the gateway. Verse 4, and the man said to me, Son of man, see with your eyes and hear with your ears, and set your heart on all that I am showing you, for you were brought here in order to show them to you, declares the house of Yisrael, all that you are seeing. Verse 5, and look, a wall all around the outside of the house, and in the man's hands a measuring rod, 6 cubits long, each being a cubit and a handbreadth, and he measured the width of the wall structure 1 rod, and the height of 1 rod. Verse 6, then he came to the gate facing east, and he went up in the stairs and measured the threshold of the gate 1 rod wide, and the other threshold 1 rod wide. Verse 7, in the little room 1 rod long and 1 rod wide, and between the little rooms a space of 5 cubits, and the threshold of the gate inward from the porch of the gate was 1 rod. Verse 8, then he measured the porch of the inside gate 1 rod. Verse 9, and he measured the porch of the gate 8 cubits, and its post 2 cubits, and the porch of the gate was on the inside. Verse 10, and the little rooms of the east gate, 3 on one side and 3 on the other, all 3 of the same size, and the posts were the same size on the side and in that side. Verse 11, and he measured the width of the entrance of the gate 10 cubits, and the length of the gate 13 cubits. Verse 12, and the border in front of the little rooms 1 cubit on the side and 1 cubit on the other side, and the gate rooms was 6 cubits on the side and the 6 cubits on that side. Verse 13, and he measured the gate from the roof of one little room to the roof of the other, and the width was 25 cubits door to door. Verse 14, and he measured the post 60 cubits high, even to the post of the courtyard all around the gate. Verse 15, from the front of the entrance gate into the front of the porch of the inner gate was 50 cubits. Verse 16, and there were narrow windows frames in the little rooms and their posts, and at the inside of the gate all around, and for the porches too. And there were windows all around in the inside, and each post were palm trees. Verse 17, and he brought me into the outer courtyard, and looked, rooms and the pavement made all around the courtyard, 30 rooms of pavement. Verse 18, the pavement was by the side of the gates equal to the length of the gates to the lower pavement. Verse 19, and he measured the width from the front of the lower gate to the front of the inner courtyard on the outside 100 cubits toward the east and the north. Verse 20, and the gate of the outer courtyard facing north, he measured its length and its width. Verse 21, and its little rooms, 3 on this side and 3 on that side, its posts and its porches, that the same measurements as the first gate. Its length was 50 cubits and its width 25 cubits. Verse 22, and its windows and its porches and the palm trees had the same measurement at the gates facing east, and they went up to it by 7 steps, and its porch was front of it. Verse 23, and the gates of the inner courtyard was opposite the northern gate, and at the east gate, and he measured from gate to gate 100 cubits. Verse 24, and he took me toward the south, and look, a gate toward the south, and he measured its posts and porches according to these measurements. Verse 25, and the windows were in it, and its porches all around like those windows. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 25 cubits. Verse 26, and the 7 steps led up to it, and its porches was in front of them, and it had palm trees of its posts, one of the side and one of that side. And verse 27, and the inner courtyard had a gate toward the south, and he measured from gate to gate toward the south 100 cubits. Verse 28, and he brought me to the inner courtyard through the south gate, and he measured the southern gate according to these measurements. Verse 29, and its little rooms and the posts and the porches were according to these measurements, and windows were in it, and in the its porches all around 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. Verse 30, and there were porches all around 25 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Verse 31, and his porches were toward the outer courtyard, and palm trees were on this post, and 8 steps led up to it. Verse 32, and he brought me into the inner courtyard toward the east, and he measured the gate according to these measurements. Verse 33, and its little rooms and its posts and its porches were according to those measurements, and windows were in it, and its porches all around 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. Verse 34, and its porches were toward the outer courtyards, and palm trees were on its posts on this side and on that side. Eight steps led up to it. Verse 35, and he brought me to the north gate, and he measured it according to these measurements. Verse 36, its little rooms, its posts, and its porches, and it had windows all around. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 25 cubits. Verse 37, and its posts were toward the outer courtyard, and palm trees were on its posts on the side and on that side, and 8 steps led up to it. Verse 38, and there was a room within its entrance by the post of the gate where they washed an ascending offering. Verse 39, in the porch of that gate were 2 tables on the side and 2 tables on that side, on which to slay the ascending offering and sin offering and the guilt offering. Verse 40, and on the outer side, as one went up to the entrance of the north gate, where 2 tables were 2 tables, and on the other side of the porch of the gate were 2 tables. Verse 41, 4 tables were on the side and 4 tables on that side. By the side of the gate, 8 tables on which they slew. Verse 42, and there were 4 tables of hewn stone for the ascending offering, 1 cubit and half long, 1 cubit and a half wide, and 1 cubit high. On these they placed the instrument with which they slew the ascending offering and the slaughtering. Verse 43, and double hooks a handbreadth wide were fastened all around, and on the tables was the flesh of the offering. Verse 44, and on the outside of the inner gate were the rooms from the singers in the inner courtyard, one at the side of the north gate and facing south, and the other at the side of the south gate facing north. Verse 45, and he said to me, this room facing south is for the priests who guard the duty of the house. Verse 46, and the room facing north is for the priests who guard the duty of the slaughtering place. They are the sons of Zadok from the sons of Levi, who come near Yahuwah to serve him. Verse 47, and he measured the courtyard 100 cubits long and 100 cubits wide, a square, and the slaughtering place was in front of the house. Verse 48, and he brought me to the porch of the house, and measured the doorpost of the porch, 5 cubits on the side of the 5 cubits on that side, and the width of the gate was 3 cubits on the side and 3 cubits on that side. Verse 49, the length of the porch was 20 cubits, and the width 11 cubits, and by the steps which led up to it, there were columns by the doorpost, one on this side and one on the other side, on that side. Chapter 41, verse 1. And he brought me into the Hekel, and he measured the doorpost 6 cubits wide on one side and 6 cubits wide on the other side, with width of the tent. Verse 2. And the entrance was 10 cubits wide, and the side walls of the entrance were 5 cubits on this side and 5 cubits on the other side. And he measured the length 40 cubits and 20 cubits wide. Verse 3. And he went inside, measured the doorpost 2 cubits, and the entrance 6 cubits high, and the width of the entrance 7 cubits. Verse 4. And he measured the length 20 cubits and width 20 cubits to the front of the Hekel. And he said to me, this is the most set apart place. Verse 5, and he measured the wall of the house 6 cubits, and the width of each side room all around the house was 4 cubits every side. Verse 6, and the side rooms were on 3 levels, one above the other, 30 rooms on each level. They rested on the ledges which were from the side rooms all around to be supported, but not fastened to the wall of the house. Verse 7, and there was a broadening and a widening upward for the side rooms, for the widening around the house went up like steps, and the width of the structure increased. One went up from the lowest level to the highest by the way of the middle one. Verse 8, and I saw the height all around the house, the foundation of the side rooms, a rod length of 6 cubits. The Verse 9, thickness of the outer wall of the side rooms was 5 cubits, and that which was left between the side rooms of the house. Verse 10, and the rooms was width of 20 cubits all around the house on every side. Verse 11, and the door of the side rooms were toward the open space, one door toward the north and another toward the south. And the width of the place of the open space was 5 cubits all around. Verse 12, and in the building that was in front, the separate place at the side toward the west was 70 cubits wide, and the wall of the building was 5 cubits thick, around the length 90 cubits. Verse 13, then he measured the house 100 cubits long, and the separate place with building and its walls were 100 cubits long. Verse 14, the width of the house and the width of the front of the house of the separate place eastward was 100 cubits. Verse 15, and he measured the length of the building to the front of the separate place behind it, and galleries on the one side and on the other side 100 cubits, as well as the inner hekel and the porches of the courtyard. Verse 16, the doorposts and narrow window frames and the galleries all around, their 3 levels opposite the threshold were paneled with wood from the ground to the windows, and the windows were covered. Verse 17, from the space above the door even to the inner house, as well as the outside, and on every wall all around, inside and outside, by measure. Verse 18, and it was made with cherubim and palm trees, and palm tree between cherubim and cherub had 2 faces. Verse 19, so that the face of a man was toward palm tree on one side, and the face of a young lion toward a palm tree on the other side, made on all the house all around. Verse 20, from the floor to the space above the door and on the wall of the hekel, cherubim and palm trees were carved. Verse 21, the doorposts of the hekel were square in the front of the set apart place. The appearance of one was like appearance of the other. Verse 22, the slaughter place was of wood, 3 cubits high, and its length 2 cubits, and its corner and its length and its sides were of wood. And he said to me, this is the tables that is before Yahuwah. This is the table that is before Yahuwah. Verse 23, and the hekel in the set apart place had 2 doors. Verse 24, and each of the doors had 2 panels, 2 folding panels, 2 panels for one door and 2 panels for the other door. Verse 25, and the cherubim and the palm trees were carved on the doors of the hekel, like the carved of the walls, and thick wood was on the front of the porch outside. Verse 26, and narrow windows, frames, and palm trees were on the side and on the other, and on the sides of the porch, and on the side rooms of the house, and thick wood. Chapter 42, verse 1. And he brought me out into the outer courtyard, the way toward the north, and he brought me into the room which was opposite the set apart place, and which was opposite the building to the north. Verse 2, along the length which was 100 cubits was the north door, the width of 50 cubits. Verse 3, opposite in the inner courtyard of 20 cubits, and opposite of the pavement of the outer courtyard's gallery, against the gallery in 3 levels. Verse 4, and before the rooms toward the inside was a walk 10 cubits wide in a way of 1 cubit, and their doors were to the north. Verse 5. And the upper rooms were shorter because the galleries took away space from them more than from the lower and the middle levels of the building. Verse 6. For they were in 3 levels and had no columns like the columns of the courtyards, so the upper levels was set back more than the lower and middle levels from the ground up. Verse 7. As for the outer wall by the side of the rooms toward the outer courtyards facing the rooms, its length was 50 cubits. For verse 8, for the length of the rooms toward the outer yard was 50 cubits, and facing the heckle was 100 cubits. Verse 9, and below these rooms was the entrance on the east side, as one enters them from the outer courtyards. Verse 10, and the thickness of the walls of the courtyard toward the east, opposite the set apart place and opposite the building, were rooms. Verse 11, and the way in front of them was like the appearance of rooms which were toward the north, as long as the wide as the others, and all their exits and entrances were according to plan. Verse 12, and according to the door of the rooms that were toward the south, there was a door in front of the way in front of the wall toward the east, one enters them. Verse 13, and he said to me, the north rooms and the south rooms, which opposite set apart place, are the set apart rooms where the priests who approach Yahuwah eat the most set apart offering. There they place the most set apart items, and the grain offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering, for the place is set apart. Verse 14, when the priests enter, they are not to go out of the set apart rooms into the outer courtyard, but leave their garments in which they attend there, for they are set apart, and shall put on other garments and draw near to which is for the people. Verse 15, and when he had ended measuring the inner house, he brought me out through the gate and faces east and measured it all around. Verse 16, he measured the east side with the measuring rod, 500 rods by the measuring rod all around. Verse 17, he measured the north side, 500 rods by the measuring rods all around. Verse 18, he measured the south side, 500 rods by the measuring of the rod. Verse 19, he turned round to the west side and measured 500 rods by the measuring rod. Verse 20, on the floor sides he measured it. It had a wall all around 500 cubits long and 500 wide to separate the set apart places from the common. That completes the reading of Ezekiel chapter 38 to 42. I appreciate the patience of my siblings, and may y'all bless. Till next time, peace, love, Shabbat shalom, peace and love.